I was once the quintessential housewife. I gave up my dreams of a career in journalism without hesitation to support my husband, Mark, as he strived to climb the corporate ladder. For a whole decade, I dedicated myself to our home. I cooked his favorite meals with love, created a warm and cozy nest for our family, and poured my heart into raising our lovely daughter, Lily. One fateful day, as I was tidying up the living room, my eyes landed on a piece of paper. It was a receipt from a luxurious hotel, and the date matched the night Mark had told me he was working late. My curiosity piqued, and I couldn't resist digging deeper. I found his old phone carelessly left in a drawer, and when I checked it, my world shattered. There were text messages filled with sweet words and secret plans, all exchanged between Mark and a woman named Sarah, one of his colleagues. My heart felt like it had dropped to the bottom of my stomach. I confronted him when he came home that evening. My hands were shaking, and tears welled up in my eyes. But instead of remorse, he lashed out at me. He accused me of being boring and unfulfilling. And then he coldly told me he wanted a divorce. The divorce process was a nightmare. Mark used his wealth and influence to try and take everything from me, including custody of Lily. I fought as hard as I could, but his lawyers were too powerful. In the end, I lost everything: my home, my daughter, and the man I had loved for so long. Drowning in despair, I wandered the streets on a rainy night. I felt like there was no reason left for me to live. Lost in my thoughts, I didn't notice the speeding car heading straight for me. There was a loud screech of brakes, and then everything went black. I opened my eyes, expecting to find myself in the afterlife. But to my utter surprise, I was in my old bedroom. The sunlight streamed through the curtains, and I could hear the familiar sounds of the neighborhood outside. I sat up in bed, completely confused. Was this some kind of dream? I looked around and realized that everything was exactly as it had been 10 years ago, before I had married Mark. I pinched myself hard, wincing at the pain. This wasn't a dream. I had somehow been given a second chance at life. The memories of my past life came flooding back, and with them, a surge of anger and determination filled me. This time, I wasn't going to let Mark destroy me. I got out of bed and looked at myself in the mirror. I saw a 25-year-old version of myself, with long, chestnut hair and bright blue eyes. I still had that youthful energy and spirit that I had before I became a housewife. I knew I had to make the most of this opportunity. I decided to start by getting my life back on track. I applied for a job at a local newspaper, relying on my old journalism skills. To my delight, I was offered the position. I also started working out regularly and made new friends. I was determined to be independent and happy, no matter what. A few months later, I ran into Mark at a social event. He was still as handsome as ever, but now I saw him in a whole new light. He was the man who had betrayed me, who had taken everything from me in my past life. Mark was clearly taken aback when he saw me. He had heard that I had died in a car accident, and I could see a flicker of guilt in his eyes. But soon enough, his old charm resurfaced, and he was drawn to me, or at least to the new, confident me. I played it cool. I smiled at him and made small talk, but I didn't let him get too close. I knew all too well that he was a master manipulator, and I wasn't going to fall for his tricks again. Over the next few weeks, Mark started to pursue me. He sent me flowers, took me out to dinner, and showered me with compliments. I played along, pretending to be interested in him. I was biding my time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I began to use my journalism skills to gather evidence of Mark's unethical business practices. I dug deep into his company's affairs, and to my horror, I found a mountain of dirt. There were bribes, insider trading, and embezzlement, all things that could destroy his career. I also managed to befriend Sarah, the woman who had been Mark's mistress in my past life. Sarah was still in love with Mark, but as I confided in her about his past betrayal, she started to see his true colors. She agreed to help me bring him down. Together, Sarah and I started to put our plan into action. We leaked the evidence of Mark's illegal activities to the media. The story broke, and Mark's company was immediately thrown into chaos. His reputation was in ruins, and he was facing serious criminal charges. Mark was furious when he realized what I had done. He confronted me, his eyes blazing with anger. "How could you do this to me?" he shouted. "I loved you." I laughed in his face. "You never loved me. You only loved yourself. You used me, and then you threw me away when you got bored. But this time, I'm not going to let you get away with it." Mark tried to threaten me, but I wasn't afraid. I had the evidence to back up everything I had done, and I knew that he was finished. Just then, the police arrived and arrested him. I watched as he was led away in handcuffs, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of justice. With Mark out of the picture, I was finally free. I had achieved my revenge, but I also realized that I didn't want to be defined by my past anymore. I wanted to focus on building a better future for myself. I continued to work at the newspaper, and gradually, I became a respected journalist. I reconnected with my family and friends, and I started to build a new life filled with love and happiness. One day, I received a call from Lily in this new life. She was still a young girl, but she had heard about my work as a journalist and was eager to get to know me better. I was overjoyed. I and Lily started to spend more time together, and we slowly built a strong and loving relationship. I was determined to be the best mother I could be, and I was grateful for this second chance at life. Just when I thought my life of newfound peace and happiness would go on, I opened my eyes in a hospital room. The white walls, the beeping monitors, and the sterile smell all told me this was reality. I had been in a car accident and fallen into a coma. To my despair, everything from my rebirth, revenge on Mark, to the reunion with Lily was just a dream. A wave of loss crashed over me. I felt like I'd lost everything once more. The love I shared with Lily in my dream, my victory over Mark, and the life I'd built in that fantasy world were all gone. My heart ached terribly. I was haunted by the vivid memories of that dream life, a cruel reminder of what I couldn't have. Yet, the thought of Lily gave me a glimmer of hope. In my dream, she was the source of my joy, the one who made my heart full. Those moments we spent together, her laughter, and her shared stories were not just illusions. They represented my deep love for her and my strong will to be her mother. I realized that though the dream was false, the feelings it awoke in me were real. I couldn't let the disappointment defeat me. I had to face the real world and fight for my happiness. With a new resolve, I shook off my sadness. I knew it would be tough, but I was ready. As I left the hospital, I took a deep breath. Mark, the man who had betrayed me, would face my challenge again. This time, I was determined not to lose. I would fight for Lily, for the life I deserved. With my head held high and a determined heart, I stepped out into the world, ready to start my battle.